I've spent the better part of 2 decades trying to understand the intricate world of finance, the rules, the jargon, the constant shifts. It often felt like a complex maze with no clear path. But through the years of studying history and observing successful investors across different eras and asset classes, I've come to realize that there's an underlying principle, a sort of financial physics that governs wealth creation. We're going to talk about it today in the episode. This episode is brought to you by Stonehill Wealth Management, where we help our clients invest their money into the future. One of the biggest challenges facing finance is its inherent complexity. The system is built on a foundation of debt and credit, a delicate balancing act that requires constant expansion to survive. Every time new debt is issued, new money is created, slowly eroding the value of the existing currency. This inherent stability is why so many historical financial systems built primarily on credit have crumbled. This complexity and inherent instability can push people towards risky behavior like gambling in search of quick fixes and a false sense of control. The illusion of easy money, fueled by readily available credit, can lead to a dangerous cycle of debt and desperation. The wealthy play a different game. Within this complex system, the wealthy have historically found ways to not only survive, but thrive. They've done this by understanding the physics of wealth creation and building their financial house on solid ground. Scarcity is king. They focus on acquiring assets that are genuinely scarce and difficult to reproduce, like prime real estate, businesses with strong competitive advantages, or as Warren Buffett says, moats, precious metals, and rare collectibles. These assets act as anchors of value in a sea of inflation. Strategic debt. They understand the power of leverage, using debt strategically to acquire more of these scarce assets. By borrowing against their existing holdings, they can amplify their returns and accelerate their wealth growth without constantly triggering taxes by selling assets. Decentralization as a shield. They seek out jurisdictions with decentralized power structures where the risk of government overreach and confiscation is minimized. This adds another layer of protection to their wealth. The rise of the digital economy. Today, we're witnessing a new frontier in wealth creation, the digital economy. And within this new landscape, Bitcoin has emerged as a prime example of scarce, decentralized asset. It's no surprise that many wealthy families are recognizing its potential and adding it to their portfolios. I'm going to take a little deviation within this conversation to highlight a point that ties into it, which is like why pricing the world in Bitcoin might be helpful. If Bitcoin is truly the future base layer store of value, pricing things in Bitcoin can give a clearer picture of what things are worth over time, and here's why. Stable supply. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million coins, unlike fiat currencies, which are the currencies that we use now, which governments can print more of. This makes Bitcoin less prone to inflation over time, so its value isn't diluted. True value reflection. When using fiat money like dollars or euros or whatever other currencies are out there issued by governments, prices go up because of inflation, not because things themselves are becoming more valuable. Pricing in Bitcoin avoids this confusion, showing the real worth of goods or services. Let me side note on this too. I did a podcast a few years ago where I repriced clothes and homes in gold, right? Because gold is another non-manipulatable asset by governments, and you basically see through gold that the price of homes and everything, if you price it in gold, stays the same throughout time, history, and location, right? Bitcoin is another version of that moves faster, right? So if you want to get clarity on prices, you have to price things in something that is immovable, relatively immovable. Long-term thinking. Bitcoin encourages you to think in terms of value over time instead of focusing on short-term fluctuations like we do in the fiat space, where we look at things and we see fluctuations in the market, but the fluctuations are more of a result of the movement of the fiat currency, meaning the continued issuance of fiat currency. But when you price things in a fixed supply money, you can avoid those short-term fluctuations and you can better understand what holds lasting value. How do you price the world in Bitcoin? Right. First, you got to understand the Bitcoin units. So 1 Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million Satoshis, or what the Bitcoin community calls sats. For every item, you'll likely use sats instead of full Bitcoins. So once you understand that, then you convert all prices to Bitcoin. So you take the price of something in your local currency and you divide it by the current value of 1 Bitcoin in that currency. So for example, if 1 Bitcoin equals $30,000 and a coffee costs $3, the coffee will be worth 0.0001 Bitcoin, or 10,000 sats. Think in Bitcoin, not fiat. So instead of thinking this costs $3, start thinking this costs 10,000 sats. Over time, as Bitcoin stabilizes and grows in adoptions, it might become easier to feel the value of sats, just like we do with dollars and euros right now. There are some really cool tools and apps that have actually done the pricing for you, where you can look at it and you'll see everything is falling relative to Bitcoin, right? Everything is falling relative to Bitcoin. It's like the site that I like is pricedinbitcoin21.com. Great site to look at everything that the major stuff that we compare prices to, priced in Bitcoin. Let's get back to the regularly scheduled program. Just as engineers rely on the laws of physics to build stable structures, wealthy investors understand the financial physics of wealth creation. They recognize that value naturally gravitates towards scarce assets and decentralized systems. They study the evolving manifestations of these assets and adapt their strategies accordingly. The financial world can seem complex and overwhelming, but by understanding the underlying principles of scarcity, leverage, and decentralization, we can all take steps to build a more secure financial future. It's all about recognizing the gravity of finance and aligning our actions with the natural forces that drive wealth creation. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you can make sure you get more updates on our YouTube channel if this is where you consume the content. Thanks, be fruitful, and go multiply your money.
Philip Washington Jr. is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and/or tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.